If you made it this far, just keep watching. I promise it's gonna go great. Season 2 of Breaking Bad. So the second season of Breaking Bad starts off immediately after the first season ends. As I had mentioned before, season 1 kind of seemed short, sweet, and to the point, but almost like it was lacking a little bit more. Season 2 picks up right afterwards. It actually has some of the scenes that were in the final episode, and so it just keeps going along with that and continues on with the story and then keeps building on for the rest of the season. First thing that you notice that they continue on from the first season is that a lot of the shots in this show are really artistic and really beautiful. The show itself didn't intend to film in New Mexico, but because it's so cheap there, it actually worked out for them because I think a lot of their desert shots look amazing. You pick up on that right away from the beginning, and it's great to just kind of have that make you feel a little bit peaceful, especially because of how the show progresses. One of the things that they did do in season 1 that they don't really do here anymore, except for kind of at the beginning, is the fact that Walter would give a lot of history lessons or science lessons. And while he still kind of does that, I feel like they kind of back away from that to focus more on how he's dealing with him becoming a bigger player in the drug trade. His meth is becoming really popular. It's stretching out around the city. It's getting a nickname for itself. The meth is so popular that even in Mexico they've heard about it and they make a corrido about it. That corrido is really well done. And so a lot of season 2 deals with Walter and Jesse kind of expanding on them, on the amount of meth that they make and on how much they start selling and how much more money they start making. So it really deals with their business getting bigger, them having to hire more people, having to hire an attorney now to be able to deal with everything that's going on as their business expands. And obviously the repercussions that happen because of that expansion of their business. What's great about this season is the show focuses a lot on personal relationships that happen because of their actions of growing that business. It's almost like the drug-related activities kind of takes a back seat to focus more on the characters in the show. And I thought that was really well done. The show mostly focuses on 3 major arcs, the main one being between Jesse and Walt. The 2 side stories, technically 3 if you kind of count the shoplifting arc with Marie that kind of just spatters out, doesn't go anywhere anymore. The other 2 main ones are Hank dealing with his internal investigation and trying to adjust to a few of the situations that happened early on in the season, and then Skylar's arc of her going back to work to make some money on her end since she hasn't found out about Walt yet, and kind of dealing with the relationship that she's having with her boss. Those are great side arcs that fill in a lot of the episode times in which we're not focusing on Jesse and Walt, and they serve for a greater purpose for later on. As I mentioned before, the show is beautifully shot, but apart from being beautifully shot, they actually put so much detail into everything. As I had mentioned before, just always make sure that you're paying attention to the title of each episode, anything that kind of looks out of the ordinary because it's going to come into play later, and even small little details that they'll repeat once or twice or multiple times within each episode to show you that that's going to have to do with something later on in the episode. And it's great how much they were foreshadowing it and pretty much showing you what was going to happen without actually telling you. A lot of the character development also has to do with, quite honestly, how the characters look. You can see Walter physically changing into that more Heisenberg persona of him shaving his head, growing out his goatee. You see the changes in Jesse's fashion style, where before he was kind of honestly a wannabe gangster, and now he's almost maturing a little bit in how he dresses. For Skylar, that's something that they show as well, how despite her getting larger and larger as her pregnancy goes on, they show her showing almost more and more sex appeal. Even though I've seen this show before, and even though I know what's going to happen, you still feel that tension when certain situations happen. You still feel like the main characters are not going to make it, even though you know the end result in some of the scenes. The twists and turns, even though you see them coming as well, are great when they actually happen, and they still have that same impact on you. For those of you that haven't seen the show, you'll see how much of an impact that has on you as you progress through the season. Now, as you progress through all the episodes one after the other, while you get now a more complete story compared to season 1, it still really leaves it on a big cliffhanger where it doesn't have any real conclusions. It's more of just the consequences of your actions have led to this point, and now we're going to have to see what happens next. What's great about this season 2 is the relationship between Walt and Jesse. You see them become a lot closer, while at the same time kind of honestly really butting heads a lot. But despite all that, Walt still sees Jesse as kind of his former still student that he wants to teach something to. At a certain point, almost like a son, that he wants what's best for him, but he's also being very aggressive in the way he displays that. This season also focuses heavily still on Walter's cancer. He still very much has it, and despite him making a lot of the money that he needs to pay for his family and for his treatments, you start seeing him become very aggressive and ambitious and wanting to actually do more for himself as opposed to his initial thought of just wanting to provide for his family for when he eventually dies. As the season goes on, you almost see that what he's going through, he almost wishes he would actually die from the cancer. And he's waiting for that to happen. And so he's almost pushing harder into doing the things that he didn't feel that he could do from Walter White that you meet in episode 1. Overall, it's a very enjoyable season. It gets right into it and it continues through with building that story of Walter White. It leaves you with a great cliffhanger that you eventually just want to jump right into season 3. Definitely recommend it. Let me know what you guys think of season 2. For those of you that haven't watched it, anything that you maybe picked up on and potentially predicted as right or wrong, and maybe what was one of your favorite scenes of this season. I'll see you next time.